Happy October, everyone. It's the most wonderful time of the year. The crisp fall chill, pumpkin carving, costumes, and spooky movies abound. Certainly, Alien will be on the roster for many a Halloween season movie marathoning. In fact, Alien is making its way back to select theaters this month. Not to mention we're seeing the release of Memory, the Origin of Alien documentary, which I hope to be covering soon. So we are still very much feeling the celebration of Alien's 40th anniversary and its overall legacy in 2019. But how are modern audiences reacting to this film? Does it still have the same effect, and is it still garnering the credence that it very much deserves? Back in April, I covered Alien's lampoon in the comedy magazine Cracked, and it became evident even back in the year of its release that Alien wasn't necessarily universally praised, and there were many who had harsh criticisms of the film. I'd like to take a step further today and explore a more modern platform, namely, as the title of this video suggests, user reviews from IMDb that don't exactly have the nicest things to say about the beloved Ridley Scott classic. There are currently over 1,000 user reviews for Alien on IMDb, 1,335 to be exact, at least at the time of making this video. Of those reviews, there are actually 561 users who opted to award Alien a perfect 10 out of 10 rating, close to half, which gives us a fair enough insight into the user consensus. Based on not just reviews, but also user-submitted ratings, Alien has always seemed to remain on IMDb's infamous top 250 movies list. Of course, it's not the most reliable list, being user-generated and all, and oh look, Joker's already in the top 10 movies, so that's been out for, what, a week? See what I mean? But the newer, popular, hyped-up movies, they come and go, while the true bona fide classics that have stood the test of time tend to stick around there somewhere. Alien is currently at number 56 on the top voted movies of all time. Not too shabby. The user ratings are mostly good, mostly positive, as are the reviews. However, there currently stands 11 user reviews that had the audacity, the pure nerve, to give our beloved Alien the lowest possible rating on the website. The oldest of these reviews being from 1999, and the most recent being from July of this year. So let's have a little fun and take a look at these, chronologically, a trip through time, from the dial-up days of internet to today, and bask in the negative reviews of Alien over the years. This first review is from May of 1999, from a user named Saint Just. The review headline asks, "What do people see in this film?" What do people see in this film? I am not one for horror films, though I do like this Alien stuff. Nothing happens in the film. Nothing. We spend most of the time waiting and waiting for something to happen. This movie could have been cut to half an hour easy. There is a saying that says that fear is being scared of the unknown, something that the X-Files has done really well. Unfortunately, this film has tried to do this too, and has gone too far. Rather than waiting for something to happen while on the edge of our seats, we wait and wait and wait and wait. We barely get to see the alien, and the special effects are pretty poor. Sure, it was a long time ago, so we can't expect too much, but look at Star Wars, which came out around the same time. They were much better than Alien, and Lucas had half the money. Alien is simply a boring movie that deserves no credit. Well, I guess the main takeaway is that the pacing didn't work for this user. And that's fair enough, to an extent. Some people just don't really like the slower-paced kind of movies. It's not their thing, that's understandable. But I think it's the X-Files comparison that kind of loses me a little bit, whether the user was speaking of the TV series or the, at the time, recently released X-Files movie, Fight the Future. It's really apples and oranges. Yes, the X-Files stuff tends to keep the alien and supernatural stuff in the dark and not front and center, but there's still always a lot going on plot-wise, always moving and stimulating and paced in a certain way that's completely different from Alien. It's set in the modern day in the real world where Alien took a chance on showing us something that we've never really seen before, or at least something we've never seen attempted in a realistic kind of way. It's about immersion into this unknown science fiction world. It's about setting up the atmosphere. On the 1999 DVD commentary, Ridley Scott actually addresses this pacing and makes a justification for it.
The film was always going to start in a rather somber, low-key fashion. And I always remember having this argument with some of my colleagues at that particular time, including the studio, where they kept saying, but nothing happens for 45 minutes. And I said, well, that's the whole point, because once it starts to happen, I think we should have them. And I think whilst nothing happens in the first 45 minutes, it's revealing the world that these workers in space function in. And it's very interesting today, in 1999, we're now talking about deep mining ideas in space, which of course, as part of the description of the Nostromo, is in fact involved in just that, mining in deep space.
So here we are, now in 2019, maybe not focused on deep space mining, but there are things being accomplished that only seem possible in the most outrageous of science fiction concepts. Such as recently, you may remember Elon Musk. He sent that AI pilot, named Ripley, by the way, to the International Space Station, which is pretty incredible and far beyond what maybe even Alien could have predicted. Keeping in mind, this movie came out only a few years after man landed on the moon. So I think the pace works just fine. I think it does, in fact, deserve credit. So let's take a look at the next user review. This is from August of 1999. The title, Slow and Dull. I'm starting to see a pattern emerge already. This is from the user St. Just, him again. Yeah, I guess in 1999, IMDb didn't have the certain kind of restrictions that it has today. Like, users could submit more than one review, maybe multiple ratings as well, but I guess St. Just simply had more to say. He couldn't leave well enough alone, but let's hear him out. Slow and dull. This movie is very slow, very dull, and very boring. After waiting half an hour for the movie to start, after many long and dull shots at the area, the movie begins to move. After lots and lots of boring visuals, the story begins to move, though never takes off. Personally, I hated the movie, and has been given a vote of 1 by me in the user vote. I don't recommend you see it, but its vote of 8.2 by other viewers might suggest otherwise. My personal opinion is that it was made in 1977, so people have just voted for it as a classic. It deserves nothing as a classic. No stars. Same kind of sentiment here, I guess. They say it deserves 1 star, or rather, no stars. And once again, the problem this user has is with the pacing, and with visual effects they believe to be unconvincing. But in this review, I think we see a little bit more of that need to be contrarian. They say people only vote for it a certain way because it's a classic, or believe it to be a classic, just because it's old. God forbid people are voting that way because it's a great movie regardless of when it was made. I guess you could apply the same logic to The Exorcist, or Texas Chainsaw Massacre, or Jaws. People only really like them because they're old movies from the 70s, not because they hold up and are still scary, right? Makes sense to me. I do kind of wonder, though, because this is just a text-submitted review on a website from 20 years ago. You can't really get a sense of who this user is, or what kind of personality they have, or how old they were. I guess just in my mind, and just from certain hints they make, that maybe this was a younger person, didn't care for the movie at the time. Maybe they matured over the years, though, and enjoy the movie today. I'm really curious if that's the case. St. Just, if you're out there, let me know. Let me know if you feel any differently towards the movie today. But on to the next review. Headline once again complaining of it being boring, and everyone's favorite buzzword when criticizing a film is used, overrated. But not just overrated, very overrated. Very overrated and boring. So says Preppy3 from March of 2002. Let's see what Preppy has to say. How this is considered a classic is beyond me. I saw it when it first came out in 1979. I was 16. I was basically bored or disgusted by it. 22 years later, my opinion hasn't changed. Okay, so kind of an interesting perspective here, worth hearing out. This person did in fact see the movie when they were younger, had a certain opinion, and held the beliefs 2 decades later. So no need for guesswork in this case. This is a review from a 38-year-old who saw the movie when it was first released and has provided us with a concise, numbered list of reasons why they hated it then and hated it in 2002. And more than likely still hates it today, but who knows. Preppy's review continues. Why do I hate this? Let me count the ways. 1. The plot is old hat. It's basically a haunted house movie set in outer space. 2. There is 0 characterization. The crew members are virtually interchangeable. How can you care about somebody getting killed when you don't know who they are? 3. Getting a bunch of talented actors and giving them nothing to work with. 4. Overdone set design. Yes, it's impressive, but it overwhelms what little plot there is. Nice set design does not make a movie. 5. People stumble around in dark corridors and dark rooms looking for a cat. Not once, but twice. And this is after they know there's a killer alien on board. 6. What the hell is a cat doing on a space mission? 7. The characters act incredibly stupid. 8. The alien looks dumb. It's just a guy in a slightly modified alligator suit. Cool set of double teeth, though. 9. What does the alien do with its victims? 2 of them just disappear. 10. Why is the alien killing them? What reason? We're never given one. Oh wait, because it's in the script, that's why. 11. Sigourney Weaver strips down to her underwear for no reason whatsoever at the end. 12. It's dull. The only scene that works is the chest burster with John Hurt, but that's only a minute or two in a 2-hour film. Long, dull, and stupid. I give this a 1. I wish I could go lower. It deserves a 0. Avoid at all costs. See Aliens instead. That's 100 times better than this. Quite a bit is unloaded here in this user review, but let's explore this a bit. Let's go through this list of qualms and see if we can best address them. 1, they say it's old hat, something we've seen before, a haunted house movie in space. Sure, that's true. That's part of the attraction of the movie. Not so much that concept, which of course has been done before, but its execution. Ridley Scott has described it as exactly that, a monster in the house, 10 little Indians kind of movie. But it's an update, a revisionist approach to the concept, done in a way that feels grounded in some kind of realism. It's glossed over with a modern sensibility, so in that sense it's something completely new, or at least was at the time. There's nothing new under the sun, as they say, so in taking old ideas and remolding them, we do, in fact, get something different. And that's just looking at it in the most general way possible, not even mentioning the actual specifics of the actual monster in the house, and this unique life cycle that's presented in the film, and the centerpiece creature that has stood the test of time and has remained iconic over umpteen movie monsters that preceded Alien. An unfair criticism, I think. 2, 0 characterization. Absolutely untrue. Each character has a distinct personality and a distinct way they react to the threat of the alien, and traits that hint of how they'll end up reacting even before the threat occurs. It's very consistent with the characters, and while maybe on paper you could make the argument to that, it's true that in the early stages of the script the characters were interchangeable. Ripley was a man at one point. In the actual finished movie, these characters are fully realized. That's thanks in great part to Scott's direction and vision of where to take these characters, and of course the stellar performances of the cast who bring these characters to life. So in a very objective way, this is true. In practice, in what we see on the screen as the film unfolds, it's anything but. Third complaint is sort of an extension of number 2, getting a bunch of talented actors and giving them nothing to work with. Nothing could be further from the truth. A movie like Alien is, you could argue, an actor's dream. They're given everything to work with. These actors were given an unheard-of level of freedom and the ability to improvise and work with ideas about their characters to shape them and their interactions within the movie. When you look at some of the behind-the-scenes stuff, the stories the cast shares about how they went through the movie, especially with some of the tension between Yaphet Kotto and Sigourney Weaver, the kind of struggle for power and control over the situation they have in the latter half of the film.
Anybody say nothing?
I'm thinking.
You think fast.
It's truly incredible and awe-inspiring how these actors were able to push each other and elevate each other, thus elevating the film itself and making this situation feel very real. Legitimate to the point that we feel like flies on the wall. Superb performances rose from what they were given to work with, so don't come at me with that nonsense. That's an empty, ungrounded generalization of how this person perceives the performances and assumptions they make about the actors and the production. Number 4. Complaint takes a shot at the set design, admits it's good, but overwhelms the plot. Good set design does not make a good movie, which is a fair enough criticism because that is true. There are plenty of movies with fantastic sets, jaw-dropping production design, but with not so much going on in the actual movie. The lights are on, but no one's home. Alien isn't one of those movies. I'll go back to the argument that much of what we see in the approach is to lure us into this world, to get accustomed to it and grounded within it, which ultimately makes everything feel more realistic. So in actuality, it's the set design that aids the movie, not overwhelms it. That's at least how I feel, and how I know many others feel, but from a certain point of view, I could buy the criticism, at least partially. I could play devil's advocate in a way. I could see how someone may interpret some of the longer shots, panning through the ship, or pulling out from the alien space jockey as simply showing off the fancy, expensive sets. Sure. I don't agree with it, but I could, in fairness, see where someone would be coming from if they were to bring this up as a negative, or something that hindered the movie a little bit. But overwhelmed? Maybe that's a stretch. Number 5 and number 7 are pretty much the same criticism. Preppy complains that people stumble around in dark corridors and dark rooms and look for a cat not once but twice. And this is after they know there's a killer alien on board, also stating that the characters act incredibly stupid. Keeping in mind this review is from 2002, I can't help but wonder what they must have thought of Prometheus in Alien Covenant. But for what it's worth, when Brett goes off looking for the alien, he has no reason to believe it's grown that large, and it comes as a surprise to him, and to us the audience, and that's kind of the point. While later, Ripley goes back for the cat because she's a compassionate character. That's a character trait, which this user accuses none of the characters of having anyway. I don't think they act stupid. Alien was one of the great horror thrillers because it really puts you in the position of these characters and has you start thinking, what would I do in this situation? They exhaust a lot of options, make different proposals, and in some cases act out of desperation, sure. But stupid? Hardly. These are capable characters in an extreme situation, and how they act within it feels pretty genuine to me. This isn't some dumb slasher movie with idiot teenagers making bad decisions every second, which is kind of the impression this review is trying to create. Number 6, I guess one of the main reasons this person hates this movie is because there's a cat on the spaceship.
That kitty crap.
Really, this detracts from your enjoyment. The cat. You could easily apply a reason to why Jonesy, the cat, is on board. In fact, there is some explanation from the novel version and from Ridley Scott himself, briefly explaining that it's around, at least practically, to potentially catch any rodents on board, but really just for companionship. It's a long trip out in space, and they have a pet. This is like asking why anyone, anywhere, for any reason, has a pet. Preppy also takes a shot at the suit and the alien design, equating it to an alligator. Okay. 9. What does the alien do with its victims? 2 of them just disappear. Well, I have to be fair on this one. This is before the director's cut came out, and since we can take an educated guess that the user wasn't really much of an enthusiast of the film, they probably weren't aware of the cocoon scene, the infamously deleted scene of the film, which would emerge in the new cut just about a year after this review was written. So, fair enough, I suppose, but either a viewer can just use their imagination as to what the alien is doing, if it's keeping them alive, or you can just safely assume the character is dead without seeing their corpse. They even discuss this in the scene following Brett's attack.
Could he want Brett alive?
What?
Could Brett be alive?
No. I mean, I think so.
Number 10, there's no reason for the alien killing these people. He makes a good point here. Why is the alien killing them? While we're at it, why is this shark from Jaws killing people? Silly, right? Stupid script plot holes. As I'm going through this, I'm getting more of this sense that this might be just completely a troll review, or even worse, this person may actually really think these asinine criticisms are valid. I don't know what to root for. 11. Sigourney Weaver stripping down to her underwear. Now I'm starting to think that maybe James Cameron wrote this review. He randomly made the same complaint some years ago, but maybe that's a topic for another day. I'll say, though, it's a ridiculous complaint, and to say it's among the reasons why you hate the movie just makes no sense. It's brutish. And number 12, it's dull. 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 exclamation points. 8. So you know this guy's serious. To Preppy 3's credit, he's at least not completely devoid of taste, offering some praise for the sequel, Aliens, at the end of his review. So maybe this just wasn't his cup of tea. No need to be so obnoxious about it, but hey, it's the internet. It's either one extreme or another, and nothing in between will suffice, I guess. But let's move on to the next user review, a promising enough title, Fear in its Purest Form, but maybe being sarcastic? Who knows? But this is from user Maz139 from January of 2006. Ridley Scott has created only the truest form of fear in movie history. This film shows what if you were in space, alone. No one can hear you. No one can save you. You are stuck with a monster tormenting you, knowing that you have no chance. It is hard to know that there is someone out for your blood, but for it to possibly be in the next room with nowhere else for you to go. You can make one wrong move, resulting in yours and possibly your crew's death. How would you like that? This is why this remains only one of the scariest sci-fi movies. By the sounds of it, this is a completely positive review, unless it's some kind of advanced form of sarcasm that nobody's going to understand. If that's the case, congratulations. but I think maybe this person just input the wrong rating, or maybe changed the rating later on, not knowing it would still be attributed to the review. Maybe one of their favorite movies was just under Alien on the IMDb Top 250, so they tried to give it an edge. Who knows? So I guess we can null and void this one. Still a negative rating, but positive words on the film, I guess. Can't really say that much else. But let's get back into the groove. Like watching paint dry, proclaims user BillCR12 from April of 2012. Alien is the equivalent of watching paint dry. A spaceship is traveling back to Earth with a valuable mineral from another planet. They receive a signal from outer space of unknown origin. Time to investigate this mystery. The crew find a dead alien inside a spacecraft, and when the chamber is opened, it is filled with eggs. One hatches and a tiny creature attaches itself to one of the astronauts' face. Unable to remove the critter, it finally falls off on its own. The man who has survived the baby monster is eating dinner with his crewmates when an alien bursts from his stomach and runs away, hiding in the Star Trek Enterprise. The uninvited guest kills some of his fellow travelers and further battles ensue. In between, there is a good amount of brooding. Alien is a 2-hour drag. While this is ultimately more of a summary, in the user's own words, than a review that points to specifics or factors why they didn't enjoy it, obviously once again the takeaway is they had problems with the pace, found it boring. Found it as entertaining as watching paint dry. And once again, I find it hard to fault someone who just simply finds a movie boring. It's not their thing. Not everyone can love every movie you love. It would be silly to look down on someone who didn't like a movie because they personally found it boring and call them a filthy, uncultured swine or something like that. I feel it's unfair. Is all this really worth a 1-star rating, though? Maybe not, but Bill CR seems to think so. The next review is from May of 2012, right before the release of Prometheus, actually, so I guess a lot of people were revisiting the series, or at least the first film, in anticipation for it, and of course making their opinions known. User Massey025 describes Alien as snail paste and failing to achieve true suspense. This one is certainly more in-depth than the last. Some interesting points made here, so let's take a look. I like to think that the slowness of the film allows for a good look at the set designs, which are excellent. The entire success of this movie, where its laurels rest, is upon those sets. Besides from that, it is nothing more than another sci-fi movie. I am stating this as my impression after watching it at least 20 times at home. If I had seen this movie in the theater at its 79 premiere, I would give it a different review. Despite the realness of the alien world, I am unable to suspend my disbelief and earnestly follow the action. I mean, everything looks good, but there is something awry with the story, in which I find ridiculousness and redundancy. In the director's commentary, Ridley Scott says something interesting about the cryogenic freezers that open up at the beginning of the film. He says that if you think too hard about it, then it does not make sense. I say that if you think at all, such a thing would be a hindrance to reason. And since the bulk of the movie is just pushed along by a continuance of sci-fi cliches such as those cryogenic freezerinos, it leaves me wondering, what does this movie mean to do? I mean, every movie has a purpose. This film is not a reflection of life, but an attempt to create a new vision for audiences that will change the course of the world. And in Alien, the goal is emasculation. As a genetically born male, I find a problem with the feminist orientation of the thing. The film culminates with a strong female character ejecting a phallically headed creature off into the oblivion of space. The entire film equates male sexuality to a monstrosity. There is an apparent gender opposition, even in the antagonism of Mother, the computer. Humans are trapped between a primal and bodily nature in the alien, and on the other side face the apathetic machinery of progress in the form of Mother and the company. Now, why are the destructive forces of progress written as female, while the space of regression is shown as male? Even the android Ash is feminized by being an android, which is an assuredly impotent thing. Indeed, he must consume a drink that looks like semen discharge because he cannot produce his own. But I am not writing with the intention of deflecting love from the finer sex. I just think that there are human natures that never change, and that portraying a woman in a man's role is not going to improve the world. Maybe men make more money than women in general, and that is unfair. But what is all the money in the world to a woman if she does not have a man to protect her? Going off of that and returning to Alien, I say that it is not a film that gives respect to women. I think that Sigourney Weaver appears in it scantily clad and braless. Enough said. Leaving the arena of philosophy, there are other details I have left unscathed that need to be addressed when discussing Alien. Firstly, the opening shot that pans the spaceship is directly stolen from Star Wars. Next, when Kane is attacked by the parasite, it melts through his thick visor wall but leaves his face uninjured. When the monster kills Dallas, it just is crouching there, with its arms outstretched. In fact, never in the movie did I see the monster in the fluid motions of an attack. And finally, although I'm sure I could find more errors, there is the issue of the self-destructing spaceship. Why am I supposed to believe that a spaceship would just conveniently have a self-destruct mechanism? Of all the vehicles man has forged thus far, from space shuttle to aircraft carriers, how many of them do you know have mechanisms designed to readily blow them to kingdom come? And that's the end. That's the end of this psychotic, pretentious review. A unique take, for sure. Alien is a movie open to many interpretations, and I think that this user's interpretation of the subtext might be more of a reflection of their own insecurities, and indeed fears, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool that it struck a nerve like that, apparently. So, almost unwittingly, this user gives us a full idea of how effectively it can get under someone's skin. Not that some of the concepts he brings up aren't there, in fact, they're very much there, but to take away from all of it as a message of emasculation just screams projection to me, if I can lean toward the philosophical arena myself. That's my interpretation of his interpretation, but I think Alien is very, very much an equal opportunity psychosexual nightmare for men, women, and impotent robots. Moving right along, though, our next review, this is from user written by MKM-583-902097, possibly a robot himself. Warning readers, check your brain at the door. Spoiler alert. I suppose it's asking too much to want a sci-fi movie that's halfway intelligent. Alien is not. If you start thinking about this movie, it falls apart. I'll try to be brief. 1. If I'm not missing something, the company that owns the spaceship knows about this horrible alien monster, knows it can't be killed. Ash, the robot, actually says this, and wants the monster brought back to Earth, crew expendable. Question. If the monster can't be killed, but it kills each and every human it sees, how the heck are they going to get it off the spaceship when it gets back to Earth? And what will they do with it then? That's absurd. 2. How does the company know the spaceship crew will even get the monster on board to bring it back in the first place? There's no way at all for the company to assume this. 3. The only reason the monster got inside the spaceship was because of an incredibly stupid thing one of the crew did. If you were on an unknown alien planet and you saw some eggs, would you try to go down and sniff at them and put your face as close to them as possible? And when one of them started to open, you would just stand there and get even closer to it? This is beyond stupid. It's insane. 4. Once the monster is on the ship and hugging this guy's face, it disappears, and suddenly another monster pops out of his chest. Seriously? This rather sizable alien being with a big ugly head has been living inside a man's chest, but he never felt any pain, and none of his organs suffered any damage? Not his lungs, his heart, nothing? I didn't buy that for 1 second. 5. This creature supposedly has molecular acid, flowing through its body. An acid so strong that it can eat right through steel like a knife through warm butter. But the creature itself is immune? Right. 6. Once the entire crew except for Ripley, Sigourney Weaver, is dead, she decides to blow up the ship and escape in the shuttle. So she has to go through a cumbersome series of physical actions, including pulling up big tubes just to set a self-destruct signal. And then it gives her 10 minutes. 10 minutes, folks, to go to the bathroom, find her cat, get to the shuttle, strip down to her micro panties for us. 10 minutes. In a sane world, on a sane ship, you'd be able to set the destruct for any time you liked. And you'd be able to get on the shuttle first, and then activate the destruct signal. Finally, only a guess from the way they made it look, but evidently the ship was destroyed in a nuclear explosion while Ripley is still close enough that she and her cat would be killed by the radiation. Even in Forbidden Planet, they knew enough to get the ship far away from the explosion. So, for all those reasons, this is a movie that is so scientifically stupid and impossible that I couldn't believe it, or enjoy it at all. Where are Joel and the bots when you need them? Once again, we have a list of complaints, this time in a block of text. Very nitpicky this time around. Scientifically inaccurate, I guess.
Quit griping.
I like griping.
They don't like the crew member just sticking his head into an unknown alien egg. They have a hard time believing Kane wouldn't know there's an alien inside him. They find it hard to believe the alien's exoskeleton could withstand its own acidic blood. They don't like the practicality behind the Nostromo's self-destruct sequence. That seems to be a pattern emerging here. And they have issues with Weyland-Yutani's general plan of obtaining this specimen. This all really feels like reaching to me. And, as someone who enjoys Ridley Scott's prequel films, which came under heavy scrutiny for stuff like this, everyone poking holes in certain actions and logics of the characters, like the team of scientists taking off their helmets, or Vickers running in a straight line from the collapsing jockey, now dubbed eternally as the Prometheus school of running away from things, and Orem following the obviously deranged evil android David into his xenomorph hatchery. I never really took any of that too much to heart. That stuff never really bothered me to the point of not being able to enjoy everything else in the movies, which, while I understand how someone can see that stuff as a negative and how it could detract from it and result maybe in an overall lower rating, I think to lump all that stuff together and justify something like a 1-star review, I do feel is unfair. And I've always believed you could, if you wanted to, apply that same kind of criticism to the original movie anyway, which is exactly what this person does here. A review from 2016, maybe a different way of criticizing movies, has and continues to dominate in the age of stuff like CinemaSins or Honest trailers and stuff like that. We complain about the trees, but we can't see the forest, I guess. Just my opinion. But with a certain mentality, you can pick apart even the best of all movies and focus on this kind of stuff. I'm surprised this user didn't stop the complaint about the crew smoking cigarettes on the Nostromo. Speaking of which, overrated/boring film. Nice sets and props, 95%. Crap acting, story, dialogue, 5%. Smoking in a spaceship. I don't think so. So says Baba Booey in August of 2017. This is going to be tough. I watched the 20th anniversary edition on 7/17/15 and 8/11/17. Both times sucked. Fancy set designs and props, that's it. Acting sucks. Most are known actors. The problem? The freaking director, Ridley Scott. Boring dialogue and characters. Cafeteria scene. They're arguing about bonuses. 10 minutes to land the freaking ship. Do we need that? No. Boring but functional cinematography. Audio sucked. Mix of dialogue/sound effects and music crap. Music was okay. Nothing special. Lighting is crap. After ship land scene with Ian Holmes/Ash/robot, super white bright. Monitor shot of ship distorted and annoying. Sigourney Weaver/Ripley confronts Ash/robot about why he opened the door to let the contaminated astronauts into the spaceship. She's in charge when the captain is out of the ship. Broke protocol. Painful stuff. Acid on pencil scene. Yaphet Kotto/Parker has a great idea that nobody listens to. Freeze John Hurt/Kane till we get home. Hurt wakes up. Nobody does another x-ray. Hurt chest burst in the cafeteria. Disgusting. Stupid. More props. Harry Dean Stanton/Brett comes up with cow shock sticks to attack the alien. More props. Cat in the locker scare. How did he get in there? Stanton searches for the cat. Parenthesis. Cat search 1. Alien is now giant. How's that possible? No explanation. 1 foot to 10 feet? Here's more stupidity. Water dripping from somewhere. Maybe a cargo. Who knows? Stanton washes his face like it's fresh rain. It's more like a leaking pipe or sewer. Alien comes out. Very cool. Props. Stanton is dead. Here's another stupid prop/set. The mother/computer room. Round. Lights. No likable or detestable characters here. All ordinary, boring, nothing characters. Tom Skerritt/Captain Dallas, the most boring characters here, right after Veronica Cartwright/Lambert. He is no Captain Kirk. Kirk would save his ship before himself. Skerritt. Open the door. I don't care if we infect the whole crew and ship. Skerritt is an okay actor. His character here and Skerritt's acting is crap. Skerritt is killed or taken off screen. Lambert at this point loses it and comes up with this film's second best idea. Take the shuttle and get off the ship. Since the shuttle takes only 3 and there are 4 people left, the robot not discovered yet, they decide to kill the alien. Ripley goes to the computer room/mother and finds out that the mission is to bring the alien specimen in at all cost. The crew is expendable. Fight ensues where Ash/robot attacks Weaver. Parker and Lambert help Ripley and decapitate Ash. This is one of the most disgusting, milk everywhere, crap fight choreography ever. Even the props here suck. Fake head, fake robot body, fake dummy head burning. It just sucks. Ripley is now looking for the cat. Parenthesis. Cat search Roman numeral 2. Parker and Lambert get killed. Parker's death was cool. Lambert just frozen. Is killed off screen. Okay. More props, the self-destruct mechanism. Another user reviewer posed a question. Do all ships have self-destruct mechanisms? 10 minutes to detonation. She tries to get to the shuttle, alien blocking her path. She tries to deactivate the self-destruct. Oh, the suspense. She can't. Her and the cat are now aboard the shuttle and off just in time. Detonation time. We see 3 explosions. How is that possible? The Death Star only exploded once. That would have been enough to end the movie, but after Ripley put the cat to sleep, she sees the alien somehow squeezed into under the control panels. She puts on a space suit, decompresses the shuttle. We hear mumbling coming from Ripley as she's trying to open the door of the shuttle to dump the alien out. Mumbling! Alien is excremented out of the shuttle, then conveniently faces the rocket and is burned out into space. Before all that, we get to see Ripley stripped down to her ugly underwear. This is not sci-fi/horror. It is sci-fi and terror, or just terrible. Horror would entail supernatural, like undead/Dracula. The acting dialogue looks like they improvised and are all one takes. Real crap. You want to love this because Alien looks cool, and that you're a sci-fi fan, and it's a classic, in quotes. Fine. But please do not insult the intelligence of the whole human race by claiming this is the greatest film ever, or the greatest sci-fi film ever. It's not. Not even close. Best part of the mess is the props and sets. The cinematography is minimum. Lighting is annoying. The acting/dialogue/characters sucks. I don't care if they're a bunch of space truckers. No company would allow these slobs on a spaceship. They spend about 5% of the time on story. 95% of this is props/sets. Better to watch it with the sound off and listen to Black Sabbath, or watch something that is complete. Best part, matte painting. When John Hurt descends into the egg chamber was cool. Props. If you've never seen this before, maybe a C grade, 5 stars. If you've seen it before, no more surprises. Grade D, 3 stars. I'm done with this. F, 1 star. Check out Galaxina instead. At least that's a comedy. This is a fucking joke, right? Let's please just move along to the next review. This is from August 2018. This is from user DHRUVV-28024. Overrated, boring, uninspiring with no suspense. Wasted 2 hours of my life. Apart from the fact that the cinematography is really bad, which is kind of acceptable for its time period, the movie is plain uninspiring. Definitely overrated and a complete waste of time. This offers nothing what a sci-fi horror is expected to deliver. Characters are way out of their roles, apart from 1 or 2 main actors, and they cannot even deliver situational suspense and drama. The build-up was unnecessary and long. I must say that it's really fantastic plot poorly executed. This is not a classic. This one, I don't even really understand the arguments. They claim the cinematography is bad, which I don't agree with. They say it offers nothing what sci-fi horror is expected to deliver, but they don't really elaborate on what that's supposed to be and instead move along to the next thought, the characters. The characters are way out of their roles, apart from 1 or 2 main actors. What does that even mean? Characters are way out of their roles. Besides 1 or 2. Well, which 1 or 2? I need more information. Of all the reviews I've looked at here, this one I just can't grasp. Clearly, they didn't like the movie, found it boring, and of course, overrated, not a classic, but really vague reasoning. I don't know what to make of this. Not that I fared much better in trying to make sense of Baba Booey's review. But let's take a look at the next review. This one is fairly recent, actually from July of this year. I have a feeling this is a troll review as well, but can't say for sure. The headline is, Why is Indiana Jones on a spaceship? This is from Cody G. Dietrich, who writes, I carry more advanced technology around in my pocket every day than they used to make this film, and it shows. In response to the defense of it was made in 79, 2 points. 1, then it didn't, and doesn't stand the test of time, as so many claim, and 2, Star Trek came out in the 60s and looks more believable than this. It wasn't scary, it wasn't creepy, it wasn't thrilling. It was boring, and at times laughable. And that's it. That's the review. Cody's cell phone can make better movies than this, and he likes Star Trek better. Everyone's bringing up Star Trek. And whatever Indiana Jones, as mentioned in the title of the review, has to do with this, I don't know. Did he think Tom Skerritt was Tom Selleck, who was supposed to originally be Indiana Jones? Did he fall asleep while this was on TV and woke up when they were playing Working Girl, starring Harrison Ford and Sigourney Weaver, and just got confused? I really don't know. This one just baffles me. But on to the final review of this goldmine of reviews, also from July 2019, from a user named Harry Plinkett14, possibly a Red Letter Media fan. I am too, actually. I think they're great. The review title is simply Twisted. Scott is a lousy director, a great visual artist, but not good at directing. Giger is a degenerate who painted monsters and hellish images all his life, and the whole horror genre is by and large a pit of degeneracy. This film is an effective horror and does impress visually in many ways. It also has a memorable soundtrack. But at the end of the day, it is just nasty, and I am sick and tired of nasty imagery poisoning my mind. Shove it down the toilet. So, clearly not a fan, not of Alien, not of the horror genre at all, apparently. In reaching the end of these reviews, it's actually strangely refreshing to see someone make complaints other than it being boring or overrated or Star Trek being much better or saying the characters act dumb and all that stuff. Here, the overall issue this user has is with the graphic imagery of the film, it seems. Kind of interesting, since back in 1979 that was the focus of most of the criticisms of the film. Not so much about the pace, but with the gore, which, even though tamed by today's standards, was considered to be pushing the limit at the time. Particularly the infamous chestburster scene, which is really the only especially gory portion of the film, but it's what most people remember, and remains memorable to this day. Alien, poisoning minds with nasty imagery for 40 years. You know something? The internet is a really scary place. Scarier than the darkest corridor of any spaceship or the most threatening terrain of any alien planet. Some of these reviews were just plain strange. Some were hard to get through. Others just made absolutely no sense at all. But isn't that something? Anyone from anywhere can voice their opinion on a public forum, like IMDb. Admittedly, a lot of the time it's complete and utter nonsense, and maybe some voices shouldn't be heard. But I hope this has been at least somewhat interesting. We went all the way back to 1999 to see what the most negative opinions on Alien were, moving forward throughout 20 years of these reviews. Only 11 of them, after all this time, and 2 were from the same user, while another was actually a positive review, but with a negative rating, for whatever reason. I don't think that's too bad. I think Alien is admired enough and cherished enough by audiences that even the most scathing reviews, or attempts at scathing reviews, are in comparatively short supply. But I'm curious, do you feel any of these made some good points? Or did you at one time or another feel differently about Alien, and maybe at one point may have agreed that it was boring or overrated? I'm curious to know. And let me know if you're planning on seeing Alien in theaters this October, or even if you're just planning on watching it as part of a horror movie marathon in the comfort of your own home. If Alien is on your viewing schedule this month, I'd like to know, so comment below. Finally, if I can give myself a little bit of a plug, I am doing a 31 Days of Horror Scary Movie Challenge myself, which I try to do every year, on my other channel, Hi, This is Derek. Just a completely random assortment of movies I've been watching and talking about. It's all very laid back, unscripted, completely rambling types of reviews, but if that's of interest to you, if that's your kind of thing, definitely check out the other channel. Some of the movies I've been talking about this month include Alien creator Dan O'Bannon's Return of the Living Dead, Aliens producer Galen Hurd's Virus, and the very alien-esque Life from 2017, so check those out if you'd like. Stay tuned for more here. In the world of Alien, I have plenty more planned before the month is over, and hope to see you along for the fun. And as always, I'd like to thank you very much for watching today. I really appreciate it, and if you enjoyed this video, please make sure to give it a like, and you can also subscribe for all the latest videos from the channel. A very, very special thanks goes out to my 10-star patrons, WEYLAND YUTANI executives, EmYarUk, Mark Fox, and Lady Ann, part of the Patreon Hive. If you'd like to join the Hive and support the channel, check out my Patreon page for exclusive posts and contests. In the meantime, you can catch up with Alien Theory over social media. Follow @alien_theory on Twitter and @alientheoryyt on Facebook and Instagram for more. And until next time, this is Alien Theory, signing off.